We're on page 2 and also part 2 of video. Let's go over our pre-cuts here. The first one is we did a 3.5 by 8 inch pocket. This is done the same way as we did on the previous page. We laid it so we're 3.5 inches across. We scored at a half. We then turned it. We are now 8 inches across and we scored at a half and 7.5. And you can go ahead and cut out the squares, fold back, and assemble this pocket to get it ready. Last pre-cut was a 3 1/8 by 4 1/8, and it is a mat. In your paper pack, you will find one of these. We have the cart, the girl, the bird, and the bird houses. On the back, it is pink. Let's take off that trim piece. The first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna measure over 7 1/4 and cut. Once you have that, we're gonna turn it, measure over 9 1/4 and cut. This will be our main page. Let's grab our pocket that we assembled. The opening is here. Apply glue, bring it down to the bottom and center it side to side. So you'll still probably have an 1/8 inch of your decorated paper showing over here and here. We're gonna be doing that pleated look again. Once you have it down, in your reserves, you will find this piece. And then it's blue on this side, and that's the side we're going to be scoring on. Right now, it is 3.5 by 12 inches. Measure over 2 7/8 and cut. Here it is, and we're going to need our scoring board. We're going to do the same scoring we did before. So in that note section under page 1 on the PDF, you can refer to that. And you might want to label this is for the 3.5 by 8 inch pocket under your notes to help you, because we had 2 sizes that we did pleats on. But for this size, we definitely need 12 inches across. So let's begin. Our first score is at 1 inch. 1 1/4. 1 3/4. 2 inch. 3 1/4. 3.5. 4. 4 1/4. 5.5. 5 3/4. 6 1/4. 6.5. 7 3/4. 8. 8.5. 8 3/4. We're going to go at 10. 10 1/4. 10 3/4. And 11. We're going to go ahead and fold the same way we did before. And if you fold it wrong, that's okay, because when we're done, you can situate it the way you need to. So let's continue on and get this all done. We'll add our glue to the front and back where needed, and then we'll get ready to place it. I have mine completed. Let's grab that pocket. We're going to apply glue, and we'll bring it down to the bottom and leave a little bit of a white lip up there. Next, let's grab the mat and this, one of our cut apart panels. We're going to use this one. We'll apply glue to that, and then we're going to center it right on in there. I have mine down. We're going to place that slightly at an angle, but I'm going to use it so I can still tuck something back behind. So I'm just going to rotate that, bring it up halfway and over. And you will not want to go more than 1/8 of an inch off the side of your one page. And once you get that down, flip it over and get off any glue you might see. So that looks really good. All right, let's go ahead and score tape around the outside like a picture frame. One down the middle and one on each side, burnish, and I will meet you at the book. All righty, let's open up and we're gonna go to page 2. And what I'm gonna do right now, because it's hard to see where my edges of page 2 is, I'm just gonna put something back behind page 2 so you can see the outline of it. It'll be easier. So what we're gonna do with this is we'll remove the score tape backing. Now, when you place this down, you're gonna leave 1/8 inch away from the side of your white cardstock, and that should give you a 1/4 inch away from that hinge. So I am going to remove my score tape backing and place my first one with you. And then what we will do is we will go ahead and place page 1 in together. And if you were new, the reason why, it's easier to line up page 1 after placing page 2 because our chipboard is larger than our inner pages. And we want to try and get these on semi-straight across. A little trick you might want to do is when you have all your score tape off, if you flip it over, you can shoot a little glue down along the bottom and the little edges. That way, when you're placing it, you start at the bottom, you can maneuver to try and get that on straight. And the glue helps to still let you have maneuverability. So I think I'm gonna place it right here. Now remember, you'll wanna try and center this top and bottom. And I think I got that on pretty straight. So now that I have that on, you can kind of see I still have my white border around my pages there. So there's page 1. Let's grab our page 2. So when we lay this down, we're going to try and keep this to where it's kind of straight in line with this one. And what we will end up doing is you can see where your hinge is here. You're going to stay about, on this page, you're going to stay a good 1/2 inch away from that because we're bulkier. And that should give you about a 1/2 inch over here. So I'm going to remove my backing and I'm going to shoot some glue down here to help me maneuver this, and then we'll place it together. Now I don't want to get my head in the video or anything, but I'm going to try and do my best here. So here is my hinge and I'm going to stay a good 1/2 inch away from that. And I did the best I could there. Now once you do this, if you're new, you're definitely going to need to open up all your fold outs to get to the back. And that's where you do your burnishing. So there is page 1 and page 2. We are now moving on to page 3. We're on page 3 and we have some pre-cuts to go over. The first ones is we cut 2 pieces that were 6 7/8 by 8 1/4, and we called them a fold out. On each one of these, we laid them on our scoring board. We are 6 7/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5/8 on both of these. Next, we had 2 pieces that were 5 1/2 by 5 3/4. We called them inside fold out. On each one of these, you laid this on your scoring board. You're 5 1/2 inches across, and you just scored at 1/2 inch on both. And then we just had a small 1 1/2 by 1 3/4, and we called it a strap. Right. In your paper pack, you will have this gorgeous print. On the back, it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to measure over 7 1/4 and cut. After doing that, we will turn it sideways. The girl is over here, measure over 9 1/4 and cut. Let's grab those 2 6 7/8 by 8 1/4 fold outs. Now we're going to arrange this so we're going to have our little flap over here and a flap over here. Let's go ahead and fold on those score lines on both. Okay, so our little flap, our hinge, will start over here. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease. And when we attach this, we'll just do it as even as we can, top and bottom. We'll bring it all the way in. And then we're just going to glue down our little flap. Whoops. It's another day. I hear Roomba downstairs. Okay, so while it's flattened down, we're going to leave it like that. We'll grab our other one. The hinge is going to be off to the left. On the outside score line, pinch and crease, and we'll slide it back behind, and we're going to make sure that these are even together. I got it there. And then we're going to do the same thing. Get our flap down. Okay, now that we have that, we can go ahead and push against the other one and then push in, and we'll do that with this one. So that creates our spacing. Now on this particular one, the left goes down and then the right's going to come over. So we'll have our spacing there. We're going to open these up and we're going to get our paper for the inside. In your paper pack, you will have the panel page. On the back, it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. Now what we're going to want to do with this is we're going to cut this right down the center. And I'll show you mine. So this is what you should have. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to just double these up. And now we're going to cut it right here. So cut it right there on both of them. After making that cut, this is what you should have. We're going to go ahead and apply glue, and we will situate that. And we'll be away from that score line about 1/8 of an inch. And we'll turn this one over, and we're going to do the same thing. So let's glue those down. So grab your two inside fold outs and just fold on those score lines that we have. All right, so we're going to have a hinge over on this side, and I'm going to show you. This is real simple. Just going to apply our glue. We'll fold it back, and we'll bring it to the edge of our decorated paper and kind of center that top and bottom the best we can. It should be away from that hinge when you do this. Try to get it on there as straight as you can. We'll just kind of put it down. Make sure there's no glue. And we're going to do the same over here. And we'll try and get these straight as far as how far you came down from over here. Do the same thing. Okay, we'll just open these up. I want to get something for right through here. In your reserves, you will find this print. On the back, it is this. Right now, this is about 3 1/8 by about 9 inches. We're going to turn it sideways. Bluebird house is here. Measure over 8 inches and cut. Once you do that, we're going to make 2 cuts. We're going to measure over 1/2 inch and cut. We'll measure over again 1/2 inch and cut. All right, so you have a choice. You can place this down right here using this here. Just make sure you can still fold this over, or you can go with a more colorful one like that. And I'm going to go with a more colorful one. Just don't be on that, your little hinge mark, your score line. We'll just do the best we can here. So I'm just going to place it down, and then I'm going to push it over against. Kind of make it do what I want. And then I'll make sure that goes down. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. All right, so in your reserves, you're going to find 2 of these. And on the back side, it's pink and blue. So I'm going to have you turn this one. This is the one with blue. The birdhouses are over here. And then you're going to put this one right on top of it, so the girl is over here. And we're going to double these up, measure over 5 5/8 and cut. And I'm going to have you measure over again 5 5/8 and cut. All right, so this is what you should have. This one here we'll set off to the side. This one here with the little bird we'll set off to the side. Now these two we're going to turn over. So let's flip these in. I'm going to put on the inside, the pink goes here. And on the inside of this one, the blue goes here. So let's do that really quick. It's on the inside of those fold outs. And these should fit side to side. Alright, so here's the inside of that fold out, and here's the inside of that one. We're going to fold these back over. And we'll take the one with the bird and we'll place it here, and we'll place this one over here. So now you can place your photo here, and you can place one to cover the bird or put a smaller one up here. But when you fold it in, there's an awesome spot, and this is a good size photo. And you can just place your photos. And same thing over here. You can probably get 2 on the landscape, or one nice one in here, and you can journal, or a bigger one. Okay, so on this one goes in first, and then this one's going to go over the top. Let's grab our little strap. Now right now I want you to place this so you are 1 1/2 inches tall and 1 3/4 long. What we're going to do is we're going to shimmy this over until we are about a 1/16 inch away from the side of our fold out. And the best thing to do here, because we have got to get a magnet under there, is once we have it down, you can go ahead and place some pencil marks around so you know how far over you need to place your glue. So I'm just going to get my glue right in here. And I'm going to grab a scrap piece of cardstock just right underneath there, so in case I get sloppy. And then I'm going to place that right back in there, make sure it's kind of straight. And I'm going to open that up, make sure I don't got any glue. All right, let's grab a plus and a minus. And that one needs to be in there. So the plus, you're going to come over with this fold out open, and you're going to leave about 1/8 inch away from the edge of the white cardstock to the edge of your magnet. And we'll place the mate on top. And we're going to fold this over, make sure they line up, and we're going to press. Okay? And then what we can do is just shimmy that off. So now we have that place. In your paper pack, you'll have this print, and on the back it is this. Go ahead and take off that trim piece. Once you have the trim piece off, turn it sideways, measure over 8 inches and cut. Next, measure over 6 inches and cut. All right, let's apply glue. And we're going to glue that down right here. We'll center it right on in there. Let's do that. Okay, you have the other side of this. I got mine down, so I'm just going to do that. You have another one of these. Just kind of set that off to the side. I have this out of my reserve. Let's get out and around her. That. The next one is this. This is the larger little bouquet of flowers. All right, let's cut out and around each one of these. And then we're going to back it to white cardstock. So I have mine cut out, and I'll bring them up. I wasn't real precise, and on this one I kind of cut it little pieces off, but mine came out like this. So I'm going to glue it down, and then I'm going to cut out and round, leaving about a 1/16 of white cardstock showing. All right, so I backed mine, as you can see, and I left the white around there. Let's flip this over, and we're going to apply glue, and we're going to glue that down just like that, center it on there. Now, before I do this, I am going to erase anything that kind of peeks in that area between this and that. Next, I'm going to take this, I'm going to add some glue here, and you can situate this any way you like, but I'm just going to kind of bring it over without going over the edge, right about there. I have this darker part down here. And now I'm going to get something to cover this, and then I'm going to layer this on top. So let's grab something from our reserves. So in your reserves, you will have this print on the back. It's this. I'm going to turn it to where I have a blue, the darker blues down here. Measure over 1 inch and cut. So now that you have that, all you have to do is place this down, and we'll just measure to fit, and we'll just kind of make a pencil mark, and we'll cut this down to fit. And I think that's going to look pretty good there. Now I'm just going to add my glue. Get that on there. And now I'm going to add glue to her, and I'm just going to probably bring her down to where her bouquet rests right over the tab. So I'm going to do it like that, and I can get glue. We're not quite done here yet. And I'm going to open this up and make sure that there's no glue past there. And while we have this open, this piece here that we had in our reserves, let's measure over 1 inch and cut. And we're going to do the same thing. Just kind of measure to fit. I'm going to make sure I get on that and around, dab it a little bit there. There we go. I was thinking about adding one more thing, and I think I'm going to grab the bird nest. No, well, grab the bird nest, and then let's grab this pink larger heart. And I'm not sure, but I wanted to use this little bird nest. And I am going to back it because I don't want flimsy paper. So first I'll just place that down, and then my heart. And I'm going to cut out and around these. All right, the nest is going to go slightly over her dress without going past that. I'll just put that right there. And then I think the heart, I'm just going to go like that, but I'm going to have the pointy part come off the page. So only have glue so far up, and then we can get some layering here. I think that that looks wonderful. Let's take a peek. Lots of places here. Lots. Okay, score tape around the outside like a picture frame, one down the middle, one on each side, and I will meet you at the book. So for the remainder of the pages, I think I mentioned this, we're going to continue to stay a 1/4 inch away from our hinges. So when I say a 1/4 inch, make sure the side of your decorative paper is a 1/4 inch away. All right, page 3 is complete. We're moving on to page 4. We're on page 4, and we have one pre-cut, and we're not going to be pleating anything on top of this pocket here. We have a 3.5 by 8 1/4, and what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 3.5 inches across. We scored at 1/2. We rotated it. We are now 8 1/4 across. We scored at 1/2 and 7 3/4. Let's go ahead and cut out the squares, fold back and assemble and get our pocket ready. This is a real easy, quick page for us. So we have some thicker stuff going on the other side. I didn't want to make it too heavy of a page. Once you've assembled your pocket, set it off to the side. In your paper pack, you will find this print on the back. It is this. Let's take off the trim piece. We're going to look at it so we can see the lace going this way. The first thing I would like us to do is measure over 7 1/4 and cut. Once you've made that cut, this is what you should have. Turn it sideways, measure over 9 1/4 and cut. All right, this is what we have here. The opening is here, and we're going to apply glue, and we'll bring it down to the bottom of our pocket, and we can pucker that just a little bit, and we'll get that down. My chair, I think I need to place oil on it or something. It just squeaks so bad. Every time I move, it's just squeaking. And the camera, when I'm editing, the camera picks it up every time. It's kind of annoying. In your reserves, you will find this piece. It is 12 inches by about 4 inches. Measure over 2 3/4 and cut. And by the way, I made a cutting error earlier, so I have a seam on mine. But measure over 2 3/4. All right, this is what you should have. We are 2 3/4 by 12 inch. We'll just place that down. Also, in your reserves, you will find a 12-inch long piece. That's about 1/2 inch. On the other side, it looks like this. We're going to use that. So we're going to go ahead and look at our pieces like this. Measure over 7 1/4 and cut on each one of these. All right. So what we're going to do here is apply our glue. We'll place this one down at the bottom first, and then we will apply glue to this, and we will place it across the top, and we'll leave ourselves a little white lip. Let's do that. Remember those little panels that we cut apart and we set off to the side, or maybe you stacked them in your reserves, but grab these two. And on the back, they look like this. All we're going to do here is just kind of offset these a little bit. So I'm just putting a little glue down here, and I'm just going to kind of go like this. So this is what it looks like. We're going to grab some white cardstock, and I'll just use this. I'm going to apply glue to the back of this now, and I'm going to glue it down to white cardstock, and then I'm going to cut out and around it. And we have one more piece to the puzzle here. Let's do this first. So when we cut out and around this, we're going to leave our white border. I have mine done. Not perfect, but it's good enough. Okay, in your reserves, find the one that you cut through it on the side to get to that one. And like in the when we were doing the cover, let's just go ahead and cut around this piece. We're going to use it. All right, even though we have that slit there, it doesn't matter because by the time we're done, it'll look good. So all we're going to do is kind of weave around this piece and just kind of go around. You can leave a little bit of your white paper showing around it to highlight it. We're not going to back this one. And most of this gets hidden anyway. I don't think I need to cut in here because of what I'm planning on doing, but I'm not going to back this particular one. I'm going to be sliding this over, and then the side of this is just going to cover. So once you know where you need to be, and don't go more than 1/4 inch over the side, I'd say. So kind of position this. So I'm good about right here, and I'm a pencil marker person, so that tells me that's where I need to be. And I'm only going to be placing glue under here. I don't think we need to worry about doing that. So I want to find my spot again, how I had that. So now with this, what we're going to do is when we place this down, we're going to place some glue under here and under here. So make sure the edges of where this is cut in here are flat with glue underneath. So I'm just going to kind of go for it, go there, and I can wipe up any glue. So again, I want to make sure that this will be covering that. We're just making a little tuck. Now if you have flowers or anything, and leaves, you can do that. I'm using a flatter style. It is a double layered one, but I'm just going to use a piece of this. And I'm going to make sure it's all glued down flat. These twirly, making sure that's all glued down. And then I'm just going to place a flower right there. Now you might want to put your score tape on first behind this. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let me see, do I want to add anything else? No, I think just one flower looks good there. Okay, when your flower dries, flip it over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame. One down the middle, one on each side, and go ahead and plant it in your book, remembering to keep that 1/4 inch spacing away from your hinge. Page 4 is complete. We are now moving on to page 5. We're on page 5 and we have some pre-cuts. Let's go over them. The first one was a 6.5 by 8.5, and we called it an inside fold out. So what you wanted to do is lay this on your scoring board, your 6.5 inches across, and you scored at 1/2 and 5/8. And again, it doesn't matter if your starting point is here or over here. Next, we had 2 pieces that were 4 by 6 and 5/8. And on each one of these, what we did was we laid this on our scoring board. We are 4 inches across. We scored at 1/2. We turned it. We are now 6 and 5/8 across. We did 1/2 and 6 1/8 on each one of these. And you can go ahead and assemble your pockets, cut out your squares and fold back. Next, we had a 3.5 by 7 5/8, and we called it a top pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We had 3.5 inches across. We scored at 1/2. We then turned this. We are 7 5/8 across. We scored at 1/2 and 7 1/8. And you can go ahead and get that pocket ready. We have another pocket. We called it a back pocket. It's 5.5 by 7 5/8. We placed this on our scoring board. We are 5.5 across. We scored at 1/2. We then turn this. We are 7 5/8 across. Score at 1/2 and 7 1/8. And go ahead and cut out your squares and assemble that one. Next, we had a very small piece. It's 1 1/4 by 2 inch, and we called it a strap. Now we may have to adjust this. We just have to wait until we get to the point of putting it on. But what I had you do is lay this down. You are 2 inches across, scored 1/2 and 11/16. Last one, we had a 7 3/4 by 9 1/4. We called it a large FO fold out. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 7 3/4 across. We scored at 1/2 and 3/4. In your paper pack, you will find another one of these prints. On the back, it's the floral. Let's take off the trim piece. All right, first thing we're going to do is turn this sideways where the lines are this way, measure over 9 1/4 and cut. Once you've done that, measure over 7 1/4 and cut. All right, this is our main decorated page we'll be working with, 7 1/4 by 9 1/4. Okay, the first one that we want is the inside fold out, 6.5 by 8.5. Let's fold on both those score lines. Okay, our hinges are going to be off to the left. On the outside score line, pinch and crease. You'll still be able to see your other one. And we're just going to center it top and bottom. And we'll go ahead and do our thing and get this on. So we have that. Now while it's flattened out, grab your 7 3/4 by 9 1/4 large fold out. And we're going to fold on those score lines. Okay, our hinge is going to be off to the left again on the outside score line. We'll pinch and crease, and what we're going to do is just slide that in there. Get it in there as tight as we can. And glue this down. Okay, let's open this up now, and we'll fold back on those other score lines so that it gives us our spacing. All right, open them all up. We're going to go and start on the inside here. In your paper pack, you'll have another one of these. Let's take off the trim piece. Looking at your paper like this, measure over 3 3/8 and cut. Now we're going to make 2 cuts. Measure over 5 5/8 and cut. Measure over again 5 5/8 and cut. Now with these 2 pieces, find both of your 4 by 6 5/8 pockets and just kind of lay them both together and set them off to the side. Grab this back out of your reserves. Let's turn it this way. Measure over 5 5/8 and cut. Once you have that, turn it, measure over 6 inches and cut. Now, after doing that, you're going to have 2 of these, and we want them. So set one off to the side. We're going to take one of these, we're going to apply glue, and you're going to be 5 5/8 by 6 inches. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply glue, and we're on that inside fold out, and we are going to place that. Leave yourself a little bit of a white border up here, and we're going to bring it over, and you'll have just a little bit like a 1/16 of white over here. And we're going to glue that down, and then we're going to take one of our pockets. We're going to apply glue. We're going to bring it down to the bottom of the inside fold out. Leave yourself about a 1/16 inch of your white cardstock, and we'll glue that down. And then you have one of these, and we're going to glue that down. So let's do that really quick. Now, when you do that and you pucker it just a little bit, you can still see part of your decorative paper. That's okay because we have this, and that should go side to side for you. So we're going to flip that in, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to apply glue on this, make sure it fits the right way. We're going to take that 4-inch pocket, we're going to place that down, and then we're going to glue this down, right like that. So let's do that really quick. There are some things that I want to add to this before we move on. I have mine down. Let's open it back up to this area. And we're going to get the cart out. I would like to get, let's see here, the girl with her bike. And let's see, for now that's good. So I'm going to put this off to the side. I'm going to cut out and around each one of these. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it down to white cardstock, glue it down, cut out and around, leaving a little bit of white border. So let's do that really quick, and I'll show you what mine looks like when I'm done. All right, here's mine. I backed it. And then here's this one. All right, we're going to go ahead and glue this down. Now the parts we're going to glue down is right underneath this, right underneath the wheel, and then we're going to glue that down. So I'm just going to give mine a little bend to help it out a little. I started cutting it before it was completely dry. So I got a little bit of warpage there. So right here, so that becomes a tuck for us. So now you can tuck a photograph back behind. All right, this one, we're gonna put her right here in the middle. And I'm gonna flip her over and I'm gonna get the bottom, her feet, and across, give her a little bend. And now she becomes a tuck as well for a tag or whatever you'd like. We're moving on to over here. In your paper pack, you will have this print on the back. It is the pink. Let's take off that trim piece. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut for the outside first. I think that's what we're gonna do. Let's turn this upside down, the girl's upside down. Measure over 6 3/4 and cut. So this is what you should have. Let's turn it. Measure over 9 inches and cut. So we've cut for this. Don't glue it down yet. I want to be able to get our strap on there and get a magnet underneath here. We're going to set that off to the side. We'll get for in here now. In your reserves, you will have this. It is the cutting from off of this. Let's go ahead and turn it sideways. Measure over 6 1/2 and cut. This is what you should have. Place that down. Don't glue it yet. I'm going to show you what's going to happen here. And I want you to center it in between this outside score line and the edge over here, and leave yourself a white border up there. But what we're going to end up doing is taking the 5 1/2 by 7 5/8 back pocket. We'll apply glue, and we will be gluing that down, leaving about a 1/16 or an 1/8 from the bottom. So let's do that. We're going to get this down first and then the other. That way we can get a couple steps done at a time. Part 1 took a while. Everyone that was new was learning different things. And now we know how to do our pockets and get those going, and kind of know how I teach here. Because I try to get these done now in 2 parts rather than 3. Most annoying to have to go to another part in the video. Okay, the opening is this way. And we're just gonna do that, and we'll pucker it up just a little bit. In your reserves, you will have this. It's the cutting off of that. And I think we're gonna assemble it this way. Measure over 6 1/2 and cut. Right now this is 3 inches by 6 3/4. So we'll be just doing 6 1/2. Let's glue that down. We're using up some of these scrap pieces now. We got our double pocket that's going to be going on here. And we will leave a lip of white up there. Let's grab our top pocket. Opening is this way. Apply your glue. And it goes right on top of the back pocket there. Just like that. Now in your reserves, you will find this long piece. It is 12 inches by about 2 3/4. We're going to use this. Measure over 6 1/2 and cut. And I think I'm going to flip that over, and I'll bring it down and leave a white lip here. Let's grab this out, and we are going to cut out and around this image. And then we'll back it to a little white cardstock and cut out and around that. This one, and to be honest, I'm not going to be real persnickety about how good I am on these corners. I'm just not good when it comes to that sort of stuff. So here's mine. It's not perfect. Like I said, I didn't get all the little fleurs and stuff. I just kind of cut around it. This is going to go right here, so I only need a little bit of glue. That looks good. Alrighty, let's close it up. Grab your strap. fold on your score lines. Our hinge is going to be off to the right, so on the outside score line, pinch and crease, and we'll slide that back behind. Make sure it tucks in, and we'll go somewhere in the middle there. And we will attach it. Now we may have to do a little bending or so on this to make it look good, perfect, but we'll see. So I have that on. I'm going to push back against it. I'm going to grab a plus and a minus and give it a little bend there. We're going to grab a plus first, and we'll put that right here. And I'm only going to leave about maybe, I'd say 1/8 to 3/16 away from the edge here to this. And I'm going to put the mate on. And now we're going to bring this over, and here is our little spacing. You just want to make sure it's going to make it over, and it should. Well, I'm going to press, shimmy that off, and it should give you enough room there. All right, grab this. We're going to apply glue, and we will bring it over to make sure it covers the side of that magnet, center it top and bottom, and glue that down. Now in your reserves, you're going to find a long, skinny piece like this. It is about 1 1/4 by 12 inches. Measure over 1 1/8. So we'll just be taking a skinny little bit off that. Now we're going to make 2 cuts. Measure over 1 1/8 and cut. Measure over again 1 1/8 and cut. Alrighty, so this piece here should fit right on in there, and I'm going to have the blue side up here for the front. And then on the inside, I'm going to use the colored, and I'm just going to place that right on in there. I have mine there. I think this looks great. Flip it over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame. 1 down the middle and 1 on each side, and I'll meet you at the book. Okay, so for this one is an exception, and I want us to place this one a certain way rather than just 1/4 inch away. We're going to bring the side of this even with the side of our paper. And that'll give us just a little more room here because of the strap. Page 5 is complete. We are now moving on to page 6. Isn't that pretty? I think this is coming out just so nice. We're on page 6, and we have 2 pre-cuts. And on each one of these, what you would have done, it's the 4 by 5.5 pocket, is lay it on your scoring board. We are 4 inches across, and we scored at 1/2. We then turned it, we're 5.5 across, score at 1/2, and 5 inches on both. And on these pockets, go ahead and assemble and get them ready. I have both of mine assembled. Let's set them off to the side. In your paper pack, you will have this print, the blue, and on the other side it's this. Let's go ahead and take off the trim piece. I got the trim piece off. Let's go ahead and turn it sideways, measure over 9 1/4, and cut. Once you've done that, turn it upside down. The girl's head is up here. Measure over 7 1/4 and cut. All right, flip this upside down. We're going to do the blue side up. Next, in your reserves, you will find this piece. This is 12 inches long by 4 3/4 wide. We'll look at it like this. It doesn't matter which side we're looking at. Measure over 3 3/8 and cut. Once you've done that, turn it this way. We're going to make 2 cuts. Measure over 4 3/8 and cut. Measure over again 4 3/8 and cut. All right, we have our pieces here. And all we're going to do is apply glue, and we will center that side to side We'll bring it all the way down to, here's the opening, to the back side, and we'll glue that down, again, opening, and that'll leave you a white little lip like that. Let's get those down. Let's grab our main sheet. So the opening is going to be here, and we're just going to set those down so you can see what this looks like. The openings are here, and if you come up about a 1/16, well, let me get that in thing. Leave a 1/16 away from the edge of your decorated paper and just stick it there, and do the same there. That should put a spacing between your pockets. So let's get these on, and we'll bring it all the way to the right side here. Now I wanted to try something. In your reserves, you will find this very long skinny piece. This is 12 inches by about 3/8. So on this side it looks like this. On that side it has the white. We'll just set that aside. And on your cut apart sheet, we have a birdhouse here. We're going to just cut that out. And the little fence down here. So let's cut out and around each one of these, and then let's glue it down to some white cardstock and cut out and around that. We'll start there. I have mine cut out and I left the white border. Now for this, you see on this side where you have the brown little thing here, and then you have a different print. All I'm going to do is just snip. It's just so that I have this with the line. That'll be perfect. I'll put these back in reserves. So this is 3/8 by about 6 3/8. We're going to grab this. We're going to glue it down to some white cardstock, and we'll cut out and around, leaving a little bit of a border. All right, let's start with this piece, and we're going to place some glue on it. We'll bring it down to the bottom of the pocket, and we'll do it in the middle here. And I'm just going to tap it. Try not to smash down your pockets there. If you have them beveled up, just kind of go lightly over it. If you are using leaves, what you can do is place down a piece of leaf, and all we're doing here is we're going to end up gluing that down, and we can leave it as a tuck, and then our birdhouse goes right up there. So if you want to use leaves, you can. If you are not using leaves, just go ahead and glue that down. And down here on this, what you'll do is you'll just go up the sides and leave that part open in case you have a small tag. We'll just lay it right on over that. And I'm going to make sure my leaves are completely down. And we'll glue this down over it. Like I said, it'll look good with or without the leaves. I just wanted to do something a little different. All right, on this piece, see where the little heart is? Let's just cut out and around. We do not need to back that. Just cut it out. We'll apply a little glue, and we'll just stick that down, just like that. Let's grab this bird here. We'll just cut that out. We'll cut out and around that. We do not need to back it. If you'd like to leave a little bit of a white border around it when you're cutting it out, you can do that. All right, let's put the bird down here. Just glue them completely down. And you should be able to get pictures in. This is a good size photo. So you'll be able to get your photo mats back behind here and get it in those pockets. All right, score tape around the outside like a picture frame. One down the middle, one on each side. And go ahead and place this in your book, leaving your 1/4 inch spacing away from your hinge. Page 6 is complete. It looks really good sitting next to page 5. We're now moving on to page 7. We're on page 7 and we have some pre-cuts here. Let's go over them. The first one was a 4 7/8 by 6 1/8 mat. Then we had 2 pieces that were 4 1/4 by 9 1/4, and we called it a fold out. On each one of these, we laid this on our scoring board. We are 4 1/4 across. We scored at a half and 5/8 on each one of these. We had a 3 1/2 by 10 inch piece we called a side pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 1/2 inches across. We scored at a half. We turned it. Now we're 10 inches across. We scored at a half and 9 1/2. And you can go ahead and assemble and get your pocket ready. Last one, we had a 3 1/2 by 8. We just called it a pocket. We laid this on our scoring board. We are 3 1/2 inches across. We scored at a half. Then we turned it. We are now 8 inches across. We scored at a half and 7 1/2. And you can go ahead and get this pocket ready. In your paper pack, you will have this print. On the back, it is this. Let's take off that trim piece. After getting the trim piece off, go ahead and turn it like this. Measure over 9 1/4 and cut. Once you've done that, measure over 7 1/4 and cut. And we'll just flip it over. We'll be looking at it like this. Let's first grab our 2 fold outs and fold on those score lines. We're going to have a hinge off to the right and a hinge off to the left. Let's start with the one on the right. On the outside score line, we're going to pinch and crease, and we're going to hook this one on. And then we're going to grab this one with the hinge off to the left, outside score line, pinch and crease, and we will hook that one on. All right, so now let's fold back on those other score lines, and we can push them in. And you'll probably have a gap a little bit in the middle. Let's open these up and get our paper for the inside. You should have 2 of these in your reserves. Each one of these are about 4 3/4 by about 9 1/4. One goes this way, one goes that way, and that's perfectly fine. We're gonna put these together here. We'll turn it sideways, measure over 9 inches and cut. All right, that took just a little bit off. We're still going to double these up, measure over 3 3/8 and cut. All right, we're gonna glue this one down over here, kind of center it top, bottom, side to side. And we're gonna do the same for this one right here. So let's do that really quick. Next, let's grab our 3 1/2 by 10 inch pocket. Now the opening needs to be over here, and we're going to apply glue. If you get this on the wrong way, you will not be able to fold in your fold outs. So we're just going to bring this side of this to the side of our paper here and line that up. And do not pucker this because it's so big it will pucker itself. You won't need to do that. Now in your reserves you will have this long skinny piece. It's 12 inches by 2 3/4. Measure over 9 inches and cut. All right, we're going to apply glue to this side, and that will match us up with over here. And you will have a white lip over here. In your reserves, you will find a long 12-inch long piece. On the back, it looks like this. And this is about 1 3/8. We're going to turn it, measure over a 1/2 inch, and cut. After making that cut, this is what you have. Measure over 9 inches and cut. I'm going to apply glue to this side. And I'm going to leave a white lip there still. I'm just going to kind of bring it over here. So here's our side pocket. Let's grab our 3.5 by 8 inch. And the opening is up here. And we are going to do some pleat on the decorative paper that I'm going to grab. And we'll center that in between. We'll bring it to the bottom. We'll center it side to side. We can pucker that up a little. And now let's set that off to the side. In your reserves, you will have this piece. This is 2 7/8 by 12 inches. It is perfect for what we need. Grab your scoring board. And I'll go ahead and give us our measurements to score again. And let's turn this over, actually. We'll do this side. We're going to go 1 inch, 1 1/4, 1 3/4, 2, 3 1/4, 3 1/2, 4, 4 1/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6 1/4, 6 1/2, 7 3/4, 8, 8 1/2, 8 3/4, 10, 10 1/4, 10 3/4, and 11. All right, we know what to do. Let's go ahead and start folding. Once you've folded, go ahead and glue down, and like we did before. Once you've done adding glue to the front and the back, we're going to glue that down, leaving a little bit of a lip. In your reserves, you should have one more of the girl. We're going to cut out and around, and then we are going to glue it down to white cardstock. Cut out and around that, leaving a little bit of a white border. So let's do that really quick. I have mine done, and I am just going to stick her right over here. And she is not going to be a tuck, so I need to be somewhere here. I don't want to do her as a tuck, I just want to glue her down. And you want her over to the side more so your mats don't get tangled up in her. If she's over too far, they might catch her. So there's that. That looks really good. If you wanted to add more stuff, you could. Let's close it up. In your paper pack, you will find this print. On the back, it's this. Let's take off that trim piece. So we'll go ahead and look at it like this. Measure over 9 inches and cut. Now for this one, I wanted to try and do a different measurement rather than 3 3/8. Let's measure over 3 1/2 and cut, 3 1/2 and cut. So we're actually going to have this side up, but the one that we can glue down is this one. It's a pretty print, I know, but we're going to do this other side. And we're going to center that top and bottom and side to side. So you'll end up with just a sliver, I think, of white, and you do. Just a sliver there and a sliver over there. Okay, let's leave this alone. Grab your 4 7/8 by 6 1/8 mat. In your reserves, you will find this print. It is 4 3/4 by 9 1/4. We're going to turn it this way. Measure over 6 inches and cut. We'll start. If we need to trim it down more, we can. Let's kind of put it in there. This should give us a white border. And I think we're good to go. We don't need to do any trimming. Let's glue this down to the mat. Okay, so grab this and just place it down to where you think it is centered side to side. And it's even here. Grab your pencil and go ahead and go around the corner at the top and at the bottom. So what you're going to see is where we need to put our glue. So if you want to draw your line all the way, you can. And over. If I need to clean up any glue, I will. So I'm just going to kind of fill this in a little bit. If you want to place some scrap cardstock in there, you can. I'll just slide that right underneath. I'm going to line this back up, and I will cover the pencil mark if I can. Pencil mark if needed. It kind of blends it in with the wood anyway, so I'm not too concerned there. Okay, make sure no glue is over here. Let's grab a plus and a minus. Plus and a minus. And I'm going to come in a good 1/2 inch from the side here until it hits somewhere in the middle. And we'll grab the mate. Make sure your fold outs are sitting where they want. Now if you want to put a little bend in this, you can. And we're just going to come down over the top. Press, and then we will shimmy that off. Let's apply glue and glue that down. In your reserves, you will find this piece. Part of the bicycle. Over here is that. It is about 2 3/4 by 12 inches. Let's look at it like this. Measure over 6 inches and cut. We're going to apply glue to this side, and we are just going to place that right like this. And that will give us room to place a photo over there, because these are pretty thin. So if you have a bigger photo, it'll work. I will show you in just a moment. So we're kind of overlapping onto that. And now it looks like a big matted area. And the colors all blend in. So now if you have a larger photo, you can actually display it right like this. Kind of center it in there. Page 7 is complete. Flip it over, score tape around the outside like a picture frame, 1 down the middle, 1 on either side, and I will meet you at the book on this. On this one, what you're going to do is the same thing we did on this other one. The side here is going to go right up to the side of that, and that's going to give us enough spacing from the bulk that we have going. So go ahead and place your piece right in like this. I have mine in the book. We are now moving on to page 8. We're on page 8. We have a couple pre-cuts. One is new to us, and that is the 3 3/4 by 8 1/2 spaced top pocket. What we did was we laid this down. We are 3 3/4 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5/8. We turned it. We are now 8 1/2 across. We scored at 1/2 and 5/8, 7 7/8, and 8. And I'll help you with that on how to cut it and assemble it. Next, we had a 3 3/8 by 8 1/4 back pocket. Nothing new on this one. We laid it down 3 3/8. We scored it at a half. We turned it. We are now 8 1/4 across, 1/2 inch, and 7 3/4. And you can go ahead and get your back pocket assembled. Here is our spaced pocket. We'll start over here. On the inside scoring line, we're going to cut up to the top scoring line. And then we'll cut over. That's all. Inside scoring line to the top one and over. Now let's fold on all those score lines. Okay, so if you have your spacing in there, because that's what that little extra score line is, it's to give us a spacing. So if you get it in the correct position, you'll come down to the corner of your bottom flap. Come on, glue. Oops, there's way too much. And you'll do the same over here. And it's easier to work with one side at a time. Pull up this side so that it meets this score line. And we'll pinch it for a moment to get that to hold. And the same thing. So you want to pull that in and we'll pinch those. Once we think it's holding a bit, we can then carefully use our tool to help us out. And if yours kind of mashes down a little, it's okay. So go ahead and get your other one ready, normal way. In your paper pack, you will have another one of these. And on the back, it is this. Let's take off the trim piece. First thing we're going to do is look at it like this, measure over 9 1/4 and cut. After making that cut, measure over 7 1/4 and cut. After making that cut, this is what you have. We're going to flip it over. Grab your ruler and measure up from the bottom 2 5/8 and just make a pencil line. Grab your back pocket, and the bottom of this is where your pencil line is. Opening is this way. And I'll pucker that just a little bit. In your reserves, you will find this piece. On the back, it looks like this. And this is the side we want up. This is 7 1/4 wide by 2 3/4. We're going to apply some glue. And we'll make sure this is at the top to get some of that floral in there. And what you're going to want to do is just leave yourself just maybe 1/8 or so of white showing. And get it on straight. So I can still see the bottom of my pocket there. But that should fit side to side. Now, the opening is, we're on the space pocket, the opening is this way. We're going to get these flaps. And this one we bring all the way to the bottom of our page. Do that. I'm going to get inside the pocket here. Help it a little. In your reserves, you will have this long piece. On the back, it is this. Measure over. Oh, before I do that, this is 3 inches by 12 inches. Measure over 7 1/4 and cut. This is what you should have. We'll apply glue and we'll bring it down to the bottom of that pocket, and that will give us a little white lip. And I think I'll have the little blue splash over there, a little splash of blue on that side. It doesn't matter, it really doesn't. So whatever you want to do there, I should say. So now we have this and we have that. On one of your sheets, you will see this. Let's get that out. You will also see this over here. And I'm just kind of playing around, seeing what I want to do to give it a little more color. And I think I would like to get after this bird right here. Let's cut out and around each one of these pieces. I'm just going to weave around these, to be honest. Okay, so I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this. We're going to lay this one down here. We're going to lay this one right on over, and we're going to just put a little glue off to the side and layer it. And I'm doing this so it's visual for you. If you want to bring that up a little more, you can. And then the bird, we're just going to glue down right on top, just a little bit. All right, now that we have that, let's back this to some white cardstock, and we're going to cut out and around, leaving a little bit of white. And we're going to glue down right under here, a little under here, and right over here. So right over here, it's for a tag or something. Just a little bit is needed down at the bottom. I'm going to give mine just a little bend. All right, page 8 is complete. Score tape around the outside like a picture frame. One down the middle, one on each side, and I will meet you at the book. Here is page 8, and be mindful for where your hinge is, here and right here. This one, we're just going to line up the bottom of our decorated paper with this one and evenly place this between our two hinges. Glue that down and burnish. This page is so beautiful next to this one with the wood grain and the slight bit of color. Page 8 is complete. Let's move on to finishing up the right inside spine and inside cover wrap. All right, we are finishing up here. In your reserves, you will find a piece that's long and skinny like this. This is about 1 7/8 by 12 inches. On the other side, it is the pink. I'll just set that right like that. Also in your reserves, you will find this. This is the one that is 9 1/4 by 4 3/4. We will look at it, let's look at it like this, just in case you want to use something like this for tag or anything. Measure over 2 1/2 inches and cut. And so this is what you should have. Flip it over. This one, the girl is down here, measure over 9 1/4 and cut. We have everything we need. Let's get our book. So for this should fit in between the hinge here and here, and we'll just line that up. Tell you what, remember, forget that. Put that back in your reserves. I think this piece here might be perfect. This is the one that came off. Let's see. That one's a better fit, and I think it looks really nice with the birdhouses. We're going to do that instead. Let's glue these down. That is like the perfect cut. All we needed was this one piece. And here I was digging for a while, trying to find something that might work in there. And then I was going to put a strip of something. But this is perfect. So remember, in between, and you can kind of line it up at the top of that. Make sure I'm straight. Hold that up. So depending on where these were, you're going to want to apply glue and bring it over to the side. If you have to go all the way over just to cover them and you don't have much of white showing, that's perfect. It'll work. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to make sure I get along the sides of these. And be very careful when you burnish this so you don't tear through your paper. And we can also add something over there if it's too bulky. So we'll take a look when we're done. And you'll be able to decide what you want to do. And I think mine's okay. But if you feel that yours is too bulky around those, what you can do is grab your cut-aparts, cut out one of the hearts, the blue or the pink, and just glue it down over there. You know, that's all you have to do. Well, that looks amazing. The back page just flows beautifully. Our album is complete. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. We do not do the picture mats together. Everyone has their own taste in what they like to do with their picture mats. So I will bid you all goodbye. I hope that you enjoyed this. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Comment below the video. Let me know you're there. I appreciate all the comments that you make. It lets me know that either I did a good job or I didn't, and I love hearing from you all. Happy crafting, everyone, and I will see you on my next tutorial.